Hello everyone, and welcome to our video on a brief introduction to DOLS. The first question that we're going to ask is, what are deprivation of liberty safeguards? Well, the Code of Practice states, the deprivation of liberty safeguards provides legal protection for those vulnerable people who are or may become deprived of their liberty within the meaning of Article 5 of the European Convention of Human Rights in a hospital or care home, whether placed under public or private arrangements. They do not apply to people detained under the Mental Health Act 1983, and the safeguards exist to provide a proper legal process and suitable protection in those circumstances where deprivation of liberty appears to be unavoidable in a person's own best interests. But what does that mean? Particularly for us as healthcare providers. First of all, we should always remember that depriving someone of their liberty who lacks the capacity to consent to the arrangements made for their care or treatment is a serious matter, and the decision to do so should not be taken lightly. Following on from that statement, deprivation of liberty safeguards make it clear that a person may only be deprived of their liberty if it is in their own best interests to protect them from harm, it is a proportionate response to the likelihood and seriousness of the harm, and there is no less restrictive alternative. Under no circumstances must deprivation of liberty be used as a form of punishment or for the convenience of professionals, carers, or anyone else. Deprivation of liberty should not be extended due to delays in moving people between care or treatment settings. For example, when somebody awaits discharge after completing a period of hospital treatment. So when should we use DOLS? Firstly, does your patient lack capacity to consent to the care and treatment arrangements? Are you exercising total and effective control over your patient? And would you stop the patient from leaving if they were to ask? If you were able to say yes to all three of those, then it is time to consider DOLS. Following all that information, what now? Some things to think about are, have you identified someone who is already being deprived of their liberty with no authorization in place? Or do you know of someone who might need to be deprived of their liberty in the near future? Once we have established that there is or will be a deprivation of liberty taking place, we will need to locate a DOLS Form 1. On this form, we will be able to apply for two things. One is a standard authorization, and two is an urgent authorization. Beginning with a standard authorization, a managing authority must request a standard authorization when it appears likely that, at some time during the next 28 days, someone will be accommodated in its hospital or care home in circumstances that amount to a deprivation of liberty within the meaning of Article 5 of the European Convention on Human Rights. When you are applying for a standard authorization, but can identify that a deprivation of liberty is already taking place, this is where an urgent authorization comes in. Whenever possible, authorization should be obtained in advance. Where this is not possible, and the managing authority believes it is necessary to deprive someone of their liberty before the standard authorization process can be completed, the managing authority can grant itself 7 days of urgent authorization whilst they wait for assessments to take place. Now it's time to complete the ADAS DOLS Form 1. Once you've completed a DOLS Form 1, make sure to send it to the DOLS team. You'll send it via email to dols@spft.nhs.uk. So what's next? Well, the DOLS local authority team will arrange 6 assessments: age, mental disorder, mental capacity, eligibility, best interests, and no refusals. The assessments will be undertaken by a Section 12 approved doctor and a best interest assessor. Once all the assessments have been completed, the local authority will send you one of 2 forms. It'll either be a Form 5, which is a standard authorization granted form. This will include a start date and an end date, as well as any conditions for the standard authorization. If they haven't granted it, they will send you a Form 6. This will include the reasons why it was not granted. Remember, it is very important to let the DOLS team know of any changes to anyone either awaiting an assessment or subject to a standard authorization. Some of these changes might include being discharged to home or a placement, being detained under the Mental Health Act, being transferred either to a different ward or a different hospital, or maybe they no longer meet the criteria for DOLS. These and many other reasons should be sent to dols@spft.nhs.uk. Another thing to always remember is, if the authorization related to a deprivation of liberty in a hospital is wholly or partly for the purpose of treatment for a mental disorder, and they are now objecting to some or all of the treatment for their mental disorder, please look into using the Mental Health Act as a more appropriate legal framework. Along with all the forms already mentioned in this video, there are many others that can be found on the Sussex Partnership intranet. Thank you all for joining me on this very brief introduction to DOLS. Here's just a few things you can do to help further build your knowledge around DOLS. If you'd like to learn more about filling out a Form 1, please watch the DOLS guide to Add as Form 1 video. If you'd like to learn more about DOLS itself, sign up for the DOLS refresher. And please feel free to contact the DOLS team at dols@spft.nhs.uk. Thank you for your time.